Hi, I'm author and speaker Robin Mead. In this video, I'll be teaching about running the race, and I'm using three verses for this teaching: 1 Corinthians 9:24 through 27, 2 Timothy 4:7 and 8, and Hebrews 12, verse 1. So I'm going to start with Hebrews 12, verse 1, and I'm using the ESV for all of these passages. So Hebrews 12, verse 1 says, "Therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and sin which clings so closely, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us." So let's give some context and then unpack this. The book of Hebrews is a display and review, like a picture carousel, of those who have walked in their faith previously. So before chapter 12, people like Abraham, Moses, and David have had their faith walk displayed for review. And the original readers of this passage would have had them in mind. They would have been familiar to them, and certainly they're familiar to us. But I would submit to you that, in the last 100 years, we would add people like Dietrich Bonhoeffer, C.S. Lewis, Billy Graham, Richard Wurmbrand, and our own Dave and Nadine Mason to this list. This verse exhorts us to lay aside every weight, every piece of this life, every worry, every distraction from pursuing God and sharing the good news of saving faith in Jesus Christ, and from the sin, habitual sin, things that are hard for us to let go of, things that we continually struggle in our flesh to be free from, things that weigh down our witness and dampen the light of God's glory that can shine so brightly through us when our walk is steadfast. And to lay these things aside, this every weight and sin, in order to run, not just kind of run haphazardly. I mean, that's how I run when I run outside because I'm not a good runner, but to run with endurance, this race that is set before us. So the other verse that I talked about, 1 Corinthians 9:24 through 27, goes deeper in defining this endurance. So in verse 24, Paul says, "Do you not know that in a race all runners run, but only one receives the prize? So run that you may obtain it." So what he's talking about is being the best you can possibly be in this race. You don't have to win, but you have to strive to win. That's what the goal is. And so how do we run this way? So verse 25 through 27 says, "Every athlete exercises self-control in all things. They do it to receive a perishable wreath, but us an imperishable one. So I do not run aimlessly. I do not box in the air as if I'm beating the air, but I discipline my body and keep it under control, lest after preaching to others, I myself should be disqualified." So Paul feels the weight of this, even though he has run this race for many years. He still feels the weight of running the race well, and that's a good word for us. And so what does this mean, though, to run this faith run with a purpose? There's no mystery here. It means I'm praying according to God's word. I'm reading God's word. I'm actively rooting out habitual sin in my life. I'm pressing on to see growth in the fruits of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, patience, goodness, kindness, gentleness, faithfulness, and self-control. I'm sharing the gospel with others. I'm able to serve, available to serve, and serving where I'm able. I'm supporting other believers in their faith walk. And I'm doing all this regardless of how I feel, because God has called me to do this. And faith is doing what God tells me to do, regardless of how I feel, because God promises a good result. Amen? And so let's talk about what that good result is. That's in 2 Timothy 4:7 and 8. Paul says, "I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. Henceforth there is laid up for me the crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, will award to me on that day, and not only to me, but also to all who have loved his appearing. So Paul knows that he has run the race well. He has a clear conscience that he has done his best. He is confident of the reward that the Lord has for him and for all those who have run this race. And I know for myself, and I know that we are all wrecked over the loss of Dave and Nadine to COVID-19. But let's honor them as they watch over us in that cloud of witnesses. And let's run all of our own races with endurance, so we may also with confidence anticipate the reward that the Lord has for us. God bless you as you run this race.